It's Tuesday, July 28, 2020. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is Digital Trends Live. Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and of course, we are live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. So hit that subscribe button. Let's get you started with some news right now. CES, otherwise known as the Consumer Electronics Show, has made a big announcement that they are going all digital for the first time ever, and that is because of the threat of COVID-19. So this is a huge development since CES generally takes place in the first and second weeks of January. This year's event was scheduled to take place at the Las Vegas Convention Center, with many other events pretty much taking over the city from January 6th to 9th, 2021. And according to Gary Shapiro, president and CTO of the CTA, which is the organizing body of CES, technology helps us all work, learn, and connect during the pandemic, and that innovation will help us reimagine CES 2021, unquote. This is a huge development for not only the tech industry, for which CES is a staple, but also for other large events that were scheduled to the end of the year and into the next. Well, we don't know what CES 2021 is exactly going to look like. It is definitely going to be a unique experience, but again, delayed all the way there. This is January 2021, and they are saying they are going all digital. So you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with some trending news. So a viral video has been banned from virtually all of social media, and Donald Trump Jr. has had his Twitter account restricted. This is because of what's going on here. So there's some misinformation, which is as prevalent as ever on social media, and a video was posted yesterday showcasing a group of purported doctors who made claims that fly in the face of documented scientific research. So the group is called America's Frontline Doctors, and they claim that masks were not needed and that hydroxychloroquine can cure the disease, both very much discounted by multiple scientific studies. So the video garnered millions of views and shares across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube before finally being taken down by all three as violations of misinformation guidelines on each platform. So this is what led to Twitter temporarily restricting the actions of Donald Trump Jr.'s account. He won't be able to like, tweet, or retweet for a number of hours as his account has violated their COVID-19 misinformation policies by posting and sharing the video. This is a developing story, and we do have more information on it at digitaltrends.com. So TikTok is facing more organizational bans and more competition. So the latest ban comes from the Biden campaign, which has now told its staff members to delete the app from their phones, according to a report from Bloomberg. Now, this follows similar actions taken by both the Democratic National Committee, the Republican National Committee, several U.S. governmental organizations, and even threats to be banned from the U.S. altogether. Now, at the same time, Instagram is getting set to roll out its competing feature called Reels in August in the United States. So it's being reported by the Wall Street Journal that Facebook has been offering up large sums of cash to try to lure away TikTok influencers to join Reels. Now, TikTok had over 2 billion downloads as of April, and naturally, many other platforms are trying to get a piece of that. It includes Google, YouTube, Snapchat, and others trying to replicate some of those features. Reels may be the biggest threat yet to TikTok's dominance, so it's going to be an interesting battle going forward here into August as that does release here in the United States. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Switch gears a little bit and talk about transportation. There could be a revolution coming to the travel industry, and it's based on a little bit of older technology. So airships, yes, dirigibles, not blimps, but kind of. They were very popular in the early 20th century, so much so that the Empire State Building was even built with an airship dock for the expected mass of passengers, and then the Hindenburg happened, and that kind of put an end to that. But now, with much safer and more reliable technology, there's a company called Ocean Sky that wants to take passengers on an adventure to the North Pole. So airships fly lower than planes, meaning they aren't pressurized. They can have huge windows, dining rooms, sleeping quarters, and they're more like an ocean-based cruise ship. And they can even transport heavy equipment and are more environmentally friendly since they just use gases to rise, and they could even have an electric engine to propel them forward. But the maiden voyage of the Ocean Sky with passengers will be in 2023 or 2024. Now, the price is a little bit steep. It's about $65,000 for a two-person cabin. It's a 38-hour trip, but they think this is the start of a whole new industry. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Now, we keep you up to date on all kinds of technology here at Digital Trends, and that includes new products and highly anticipated cameras, and that's what we're talking about next. We got the Sony AS7 III, and to discuss why this is such a big deal and what some of the key features are, we've got our own Jaron Schneider joining us. Jaron, hello, welcome to the show. So tell us about this camera. I know that you're excited about it.
Yeah, hey Greg, I actually am very excited about the A7S III because it is finally Sony saying that this line is a video camera. For those who have paid attention to Sony in the past, they have said that this camera was actually, the S stood for sensitivity. It was never a video camera, it was a low light camera. At only 12 megapixels, it didn't make very big pictures, but it could make pictures in like basically darkness, full darkness. Now, not only can it still do that, but they added a ton of actual like usable video features to this camera that makes it really, really attractive for mainly people who are just below Hollywood level. Anyone who shoots just below Hollywood level all the way down to like someone who's just advanced amateur interested in video shooting, this camera will have pretty much everything you need. They didn't go above 4K. They decided to stay at 4K and just try and excel at 4K. So you get up to 4K 120 frames per second, which is some incredibly great slow motion capabilities there. It has a radical new dual memory slot system that no one has ever tried before. It takes the two memory card types in one slot, and it's got two of them. So that's completely new. And it's a really cool camera that they put a lot of like the color depth that people want into it, as well as just a bunch of other features in 4K that just makes it really attractive. There's so much to talk about with this camera. I can't fit it in like a small segment. You should read our full coverage if you're interested in more. There's like 20, 30 bullet points of stuff that they changed because this is a complete overhaul of the system. It's not anywhere near the same camera as it was 5 years ago.
Is there any camera in the market right now that it would adequately compare to, or is this really something that's kind of standalone?
At its $3,500 price point, it competes directly against the Panasonic S1H, which is, again, a similar style. It looks like a regular camera, but it's a video camera, and the Canon EOS R5, which just was announced and hasn't even hit the real market yet. Our review on that camera is coming later this week. Both those cameras are at similar price points. The Panasonic doesn't do the slow motion, but the R5 does. So it's a matter of like, which one of these ones are we going to pick? A lot of them have very similar specs. So this was finally Sony saying, hey, if you're using our camera system, you finally have the ability to shoot what other companies have been offering now for a little while.
Very cool. So like you said, you've been able to use this. You clearly are excited about it, and you know cameras, so that's what makes me excited about it. But taking a look there, yeah, so 4K, so everybody can kind of take advantage of this. $3,500. And we've got the review that's up that people can take a look at too and go through it as this is just coming out right now. It's definitely cool. And Jaron, I want to say thank you very much too for sharing just this. But like you said, there's so many different bullet points, so many different things to talk about with this camera that I encourage everybody to go there to the website and take a look at your full review. Thanks a lot, Jaron.
Thanks for having me.
Jaron Schneider right here on Digital Trends Live, talking about everything photography. We've got all those reviews up. All right, we need to go to a break because coming up, we've got some great guests here on the show today. And up next, I'm really excited to talk about this. So we're talking about traveling to Mars and traveling to other planets or even long-term space travel. But how does that affect humans on board? Well, our next guest is somebody who actually tried that out here on Earth, and that's Kate Green. She's going to join us here next on Digital Trends Live. Stick around, right back after this. back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thanks for joining us. Hit that subscribe button. So as space agencies make the gradual preparation to send humans out on deeper space missions, longer missions, even to other planets or the moon for long-term durations, there's a lot of study on how we can handle that, living in a confined area like that. And our next guest has a little bit of experience. She spent 4 months in a dome in Hawaii as part of a simulated Mars mission. In her book, Once Upon a Time, I Lived on Mars, Space Exploration and Life on Earth, chronicles that experience. Welcome to the show. We have Kate Green. Kate, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
So if you could, give us a little bit of background on this mission that you joined, and maybe what made you want to go experience this for 4 months in a dome in Hawaii?
Sure. Well, High Seas is a project that lasted from 2013 to 2018, and there were missions of duration from 4 months to a whole year. And the whole purpose of it was to test the psychological challenges of an isolated environment, like what a Mars crew would experience, hundreds of millions of miles away from Earth. So what made me want to do this was, I was a science journalist at the time, and I didn't have any big projects on the horizon, and I thought it would be interesting to feel like what it would be like to be an astronaut. I'd always wanted to be an astronaut as a kid. I guess I should admit that as well.
And so you moved in there, and how many people were living in the dome with you? And to get a context, like how big is this area?
Sure. This was, our crew was 6 people, and the dome is about the size of a 2-bedroom apartment. It's pretty spacious when you walk in because you have that big open space above you, but there's also a mezzanine area. And there were some pictures there that you saw of our staterooms, which are basically the size of walk-in closets. So we didn't have a lot of personal space. Most space was shared space.
When I think about even going on a road trip with someone for a long time, sharing a car with them, there's eventually that point where you either start gelling or you start not getting along. For you, what was one of the biggest challenges of living with 6 people in such a small space?
Well, something that was somewhat challenging, but also kind of wonderful, was the fact that we all came from so many different backgrounds. So there were only a couple of us who had English as our first language. And what that meant was we were always kind of trying to understand each other, and you couldn't really easily fall into assumptions. You had to make sure you understood exactly where other people were coming from. Also, by and large, you're just talking to the same people day in and day out for 4 months. We're all eating the same meals, wearing the same clothes over and over again. There gets to be a lot of sameness to it. And one of the big aspects of this mission is that there's a communication delay implemented, which means that we couldn't talk to anyone in real time. Like on Mars, there would be 4 minutes to 24 minutes of a delay in communication. So my crew, these 5 other people, were the only people that I had real-time conversations with for 4 months.
One of the terms that you bring up is this term, if I'm saying it right, techno-schmers. Could you talk about what that means? What is techno-schmers?
Well, it's this idea that kind of occurred to me. There's a concept called Weltschmerz. It's world pain in German. But it's more than just pain. It's truly anguish, and it's when, well, one definition is when when the way that you want something to work, the way that you expect the world to be, simply is not that, and in that gap is this pain and anguish. And I was noticing it, especially on this mission. You expect technology to do one thing, to maybe connect you to people at a distance, and then when it fails, when it's trying to be a good social tool, and then it fails in being a good social tool. So we all experience this, from dropped calls to text messages that take too long. Someone who takes too long to reply to a text message, or Facebook giving you a picture of someone who's died, as a fond memory. This is where you want the technology to do a good thing for you, but it does the exact opposite. And in that gap between your expectation and what actually happens is this pretty severe pain. And I got to thinking about, on a Mars mission, that these sorts of systems should be really carefully considered, because you're further from Earth than anyone's ever been, and the loneliness is kind of, it's something that no one's ever known. And so if you have these technologies that are failing in this way, it could actually make the situation a lot harder than it would need to be.
I didn't even think of something like that. Now I absolutely know what you're talking about with that term. I've definitely experienced it. Well, and you talked about that, people being traveling to Mars, and it's what, a minimum 6 to 8 months. So you figure a mission, even if they got there and got back, we're talking like 3 years probably.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest obstacle is going to be as far as mental health and mental wellness on a trip like that?
I mean, there are well-documented issues that crop up in isolation, and this is such an extreme isolated environment to be in a capsule with people for 6 months, and then you're on the surface mission, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, the excitement and the glory it would be something so spectacular that you have something to look forward to, and then you have something very real that you're feeling. But in study after study that's looked at Arctic explorations and Arctic isolation missions, you see that people begin to distrust information from the outside. There's an us-them phenomenon. That's something that happens. And then you also just get the micro irritations that grow macro over time. So the way that someone clears their throat, for instance, or if that happens a lot, or just anyone's personal ticks, tapping a pen on the table, that's gonna grow really large over time. So one of the biggest challenges is making sure that you get some people who understand how to see those annoyances and truly let go of them for the sake of the mission. It sounds like an easy thing to do, but I think it's a little bit harder in practice.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. I can already think of all my pet peeves that I need to learn to get rid of. One thing that you talk a lot about too is the importance of good food. Can you tell us why food is such an important factor for something like this, like long distance space travel?
Sure. Well, okay. NASA knows that astronauts tend to eat less over time on ISS missions, and the reason for that isn't very clear, but it's a real problem because if you take in fewer calories, it makes you more prone to disease or bone loss and injury. And so, the thinking is you definitely want to make sure that astronauts are eating as many calories as is healthy for them. And so one thought is maybe once you get back to Mars, when you have gravity, wouldn't it be great to be able to cook, to make novel meals, to get some different flavors other than the pouch meals that you've been used to, and also to have some sort of celebratory aspect of the mission, with food, make a cake, or if it's someone's birthday, make a special pizza or something like that, a stir fry, anything, that's just unusual and fun. And food has a really important psychosocial aspect to it that brings people together and helps for crew cohesion. So there's a lot of interest in looking at the food systems on Mars and how they might be good, not only for astronauts' emotional health, but also mental health as well.
What was the first meal you went and got when you left the dome?
Oh my gosh. Well, we had trays of fresh fruits and vegetables, which I hadn't had in 4 months. So I was eating a lot of crunchy carrots and pineapple.
Nice. Well, Kate, I want to remind everybody too, your book is Once Upon a Time, I Lived on Mars, Space Exploration and Life on Earth. Available now for people to get that. And thank you so much for joining us here to talk about this and share your experience. It's so exciting and experiences and what you've gone through is so beneficial for everybody. And I really appreciate you sharing just a little part of it here. We've also got an article at digitaltrends.com too, where you did an interview for us, and we've got some more information there for everybody. And Kate, thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is really fascinating. So seriously, check out her book, Once Upon a Time, I Lived on Mars, Space Exploration and Life on Earth. Really, really cool stuff, especially this week with the Mars mission that's going to be launching. Continuing on here, we need to take a break because we got John Velasco, who's on next to fill you in on some new smart home speakers and talk a little bit about those and do some comparisons. So that's coming up next. Stick around, back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button wherever you are. We'd like to keep you up to date with what's going on in technology and help you make the decisions you need to make when it comes to purchasing a smart home speaker, or maybe you want a smart home display. What's the difference? Why should you decide between those two? Well, that's what John Velasco is here to sort out for us. John, hello. Thanks for being here. Let's get this started, talking about smart speakers versus smart displays.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg. So yeah, we just recently did a piece on digitaltrends.com, the difference between smart displays and smart speakers. So if anyone is looking to start a smart home, these are two devices you want to really think about first. So the main difference, obviously, is the design. So smart speakers, I'm going to talk about smart speakers here really quick. So the advantages of smart speakers that they tend to be smaller. They're a little bit more discreet, so you could put them in a corner. They won't stick out as much. You could tuck them in places that you wouldn't traditionally place a gadget in, because it's just there for the sound and for the assistant, the smart assistant. But they do tend to have better audio quality, which is why they're placed usually in corners, so it disperses the audio perfectly. And they're also more affordable than smart displays. So if you're looking to start a smart home, it's the right investment for you. So on the flip side, you have smart displays. Now, smart displays can do everything that smart speakers can do, but more. So they have their virtual assistants. You could ask the weather, the time, all that stuff, but they do more. So with smart displays, they tend to require a little bit more interaction on our part, but they do also have the distinct advantage of offering video chat, which is not something you could do with a smart speaker. They're bigger and they cost more, but I think that they're better investments for the future. They're more future-proof. So let's just jump right in and talk about some smart speakers, some options that you might want to consider if you're looking to start with a smart home. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Amazon Echo Dot with clock. This is the latest one that they have. It was announced back in the fall, and it's $60. It has great sound. For a tiny speaker, you have physical controls. There is an LEDs on the front, so it tells stuff like the time, temperature, and even timer. And it's affordable. It's $60. It's a great way to get your smart home started. And if you like the Amazon ecosystem, then it's definitely something you want to look at. So the next smart speaker I want to talk about is over on the Google side. It's with the Google Assistant powered Google Nest Mini. This is their entry-level model. It's $49. It's a puck size, very tiny and discreet. You have touch controls on there, so when you place your hand near it, you'll see those LEDs light up. And you could also place it on a wall. That's the unique thing about this speaker. So you can attach it to a wall, to a ceiling, wherever you want, just to have it a little bit different than just being on your desk. And it is powered by Google Assistant. So if you prefer Google and you're invested in that ecosystem, then it's the better choice for you. And like I said, it's $49. So very, very affordable. The last speaker that I want to talk about here, smart speaker, is going to be going back to Amazon. And this is the Amazon Echo. It's the third generation model. And it is what I call their all-around speaker. And I think it's probably one of the best all-around smart speakers you could buy. It's $100, so it's a little bit more investment, but it has that LED light ring on the top. You have also top-notch audio. So if you're looking for, if you're into playing music or you're an audiophile, this is a right speaker for you, because it has all those qualities, and you're getting the best of everything in terms of what you want in a smart speaker. So those are some of the recommendations I have with smart speakers. Obviously, there's a lot more out there from different companies, but those are the ones you want to look at. Now, switching things over to smart displays. Smart displays, they're relatively new. They just came out in the last couple of years, obviously, and they're very useful. So the first recommendation here I'm going to talk about is the Lenovo Smart Display. Now, this guy here, the Lenovo Smart Display, there's different sizes. There's a 7-inch, there's an 8-inch, 10-inch. There's a variety of different ones. It has a great value for the price, especially the 7-inch. The 7-inch is the latest model. The 8-inch and 10-inch are, I want to say, a little bit over a year old at this point. But the unique thing about Lenovo's smart displays is that you have also front-facing cameras, so you can make those video calls. And I personally like the size of the Lenovo Smart Display 7, because it's something you can put on your bedside. It doesn't take up a lot of space. You have the full functionality of a smart display. So yes, play music. You can watch videos to an extent, but there's a little bit more interaction there with a smart display than the smart speaker. The next one I want to talk about here is going to be a little bigger, beefier size one. It's going to be with Amazon. It is the second generation Amazon Echo Show. So it is a beast. It's big, obviously. It's not something you're going to put next to your nightstand or your bedside because it's going to occupy a lot of space. But it is a full-fledged smart display. You have all the functionality of Alexa. You can access your smart control. So instead of telling Alexa to turn on the lights, you could use the display. You'll see all your lights on there. You could pick and choose which lights you want to turn on, turn off, or adjust the brightness. And it has incredible audio quality. Surprisingly, for a smart display, this has an impressive audio performance. And you can watch your Amazon Prime shows because it does work with the Amazon ecosystem. And the one thing to note here, Greg, is that for a smart home, it actually acts as a Zigbee hub. So if you have other Zigbee connected smart home gadgets at home, let's say like a door sensor or a water sensor, you don't need to use the respective hub because this can actually act as that. So it's an all-in-one thing. It's priced at $230. It's up there. Like I said, smart displays are going to cost you more, but you have more functionality. And I want to save the last one here for something special because I reviewed this back in the fall. And I think it is the definitive smart display. It really shows you the innovation in smart displays, especially in the last year. And that is the Google Nest Hub Max. Now, this isn't as beefy as the Echo Show, but it has a lot more features. And I think this is what I call a convergence product. So obviously with the smart display, it also acts as a fantastic photo frame. And that's because Google uses this new technology, the ambient EQ technology, which adjusts the color temperature, the brightness, the contrast of the display. So it looks just like a realistic photo frame. Another thing here is that you could personalize content because, yes, there is a camera on here. And what that camera does is that it detects people. So if you have multiple people in the household, when you glance at the smart display, it'll know who it is and it'll basically personalize the content. It'll tell you, hey, you have an appointment coming up at 6 o'clock, John. If you have someone else in the home, they'll get their own personalized content, which is great. And the last thing I want to note is that with that camera, obviously you could make video calls on there. But the unique thing about this particular one, it's actually the only one that does this, is that it acts as a security camera. So essentially, it is a Nest Cam. So you could use it as a security camera. When you're away, it'll detect for any motion. So if there's someone there at home that's not supposed to be, it'll tell you. You get a notification. You could use the Nest Cam app, and it acts basically like your traditional security camera at home. So you get all that smart display, smart speaker, and a smart camera all in one. It's $230, obviously really up there in price, but when you consider that you don't have to buy individual products, it's a great investment.
I like that, as you said, a convergence product where you've kind of got everything in one. That tends to be worth more the price too, especially when you're getting updates and it's got all that cutting edge stuff that's going on with it. Well, John, that's a great rundown of what some of the decisions are that people can make and some of the different products as far as what to do with their smart speaker or smart video, smart display. So a lot to decide on there. And we've got all that at digitaltrends.com too. So people can go there and take a look at each one of the products. And like you said, we've got that article up too that just kind of walks through that to help people decide where you want to go or what's right for you. And as always, John, really, really appreciate your insight and sharing everything here on Digital Trends Live. John Velasco right here on Digital Trends Live, as always, giving us great information. Go to digitaltrends.com for any smart home product. Whatever it is, John's probably reviewed it and has some really good insight on everything there and helping you make those decisions. Got to take a break because up next we've got our full screen segment, Who's Got Game? And we're going to be joined by David Trejo and Finn Flynn, who you may know better as Tech Kaboom. They're going to be here right after this. Stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and yes, indeed, it's our time for our segment called Who's Got Game, where we partner with Fullscreen and talk to talented gamers, entertainers, creators, all of that and more. We've got two here joining us right now. We've got David Trejo, and we've got Finn Flynn. You may know him better as Tech Kaboom. Hello, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us. We're excited.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. All right. So something I think is so interesting. You two started 2018, and you've created this gigantic following. But you both had your individual accounts that were going on before that. So maybe let's see, David. Why don't you go first? Can you tell us how did this meeting of the minds come together? Because you have such different backgrounds. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing YouTube for about 10 years now, and I've had some different channels throughout the years. And I was looking to get into tech, and but I wanted to do it in a way that really took it to the next level for me. And I came to the realization that I couldn't do it alone. So, I've known Finn for, I don't know, 5-6 years now. And I just admire his work. And I felt like he could complement what I wanted to do with Take a Boom. And I pitched the idea to him. And he said, yeah, so, yeah.
Match made in heaven.
And then the magic, yeah. Well, with the two of you, a lot of what you're doing, and naturally things have changed a little bit right now. But you did a lot of traveling. You were over in Europe, if I understand right, or you were heading to Europe when this whole thing was going to be going down?
Yeah, we were actually in Europe to film some videos. And while we were traveling Europe, the whole just coronavirus thing, it just escalated to the next level. And actually, while we were there, President Trump announced that he was going to close off the border for people that are not Americans. And at the time, we were actually based in Portland, in Vancouver, Washington, actually, just north of Portland. I think you guys are in Portland.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So we actually had to cancel our trip midway, stop the videos we were shooting, and which is a shame because we're excited about the one specific video we're shooting there. So we'll have to postpone that for next time we're able to travel to Europe. And now I'm in Mexico, Finn is in Canada. We're forced to be creating videos while separated, but we're making the best of it. And I personally miss those spectacular locations that Finn gets to enjoy every day. But hopefully we'll be able to join forces again.
Well, Finn, talking about that, now that you two are filming separately, what's been one of the biggest technological challenges that you've faced, and how did you overcome it?
That is such a funny question to ask right now because my screen here is almost frozen. I hope you can actually see me right now. My internet is terrible.
We can. Yeah, we've got you. It's just, you're good.
Perfect. That's great. Yeah, because I barely heard what David said. I'm sure it was amazing. But yeah, so definitely this has been a struggle with the whole sort of, working apart. But I'm actually really impressed with a lot of, creators, how they've sort of innovated and be able to still make content. Because yeah, it's very difficult sort of trying to come up with ideas now that work in this sort of new world that we find ourselves in. But I'm overall impressed. I feel like nothing's been, too big of a hurdle we couldn't overcome. And it's been like a fun challenge to be only working with David over Zoom calls and making videos where, he can't even be here to film. We have to sort of work together in that way. So yeah, just not having David there for the filming process is probably the hardest thing.
For the most part,
what would you say has been the most valuable? Oh, go ahead, David.
I was just going to say, for the most part, we are able to work, plan the videos, edit the videos, and brainstorm and all that. The thing that's changed the most is that I'm not there for the filming, which we figure it out. We figure out solutions for that. But the beautiful thing about the working online is that in this day and age, you can work from wherever, even if you're far away.
Mm-hmm.
Finn, talking about filming, up there, what are some of the different things that I guess you've been able to experiment with? Are there different ways that you've been able to be creative during all of this? Have you found some new things you've been able to do?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
for sure, like
go ahead.
we love that we are blessed enough to be in such a beautiful location, because I really like sort of doing travel videos, sort of cinematography type things. I'm super into that sort of whole genre. So being in a place like Alberta, Canada, where we are, we get to sort of toss in some sort of beautiful backdrops and some mountain locations, maybe some drone shots here and there. And I feel like it adds to this sort of fun feeling of our video. So that's a really fun thing that I really enjoy doing. And it also gets me out of the house, out of my little den here of working, and out to explore a little bit to sort of add those shots to the videos. So it's definitely one of my favorite things to do, and I think it adds to the content. It definitely adds to my own enjoyment in making the content for sure. So that's one fun thing we definitely try and do. And now that we can't travel, it's great that we are in a location that we can still do that, which I feel really blessed for, and is definitely one of my favorite parts of making these videos.
What kind of recommendation would you have for somebody out there who's just getting into this, wants to start creating more videos, wants more content, and try to grow their following base? What would be the number one recommendation you would have for them? David, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I mean, learn as much as possible and give yourself time. I've been doing YouTube for about 10 years now, and I feel like at the beginning I was so in like this rush to get everything now. And I still want everything now, but I know that as well that it is a lifelong journey. Content creation is a lifelong journey, and I'm always impressed by whenever I feel like we're close to figuring it out. Like, oh, we're close. We're only missing this piece of the puzzle until we understand everything we need to know to create the best content we possibly can. A few months down the line, we come to realize that, oh, we've learned so much more than we thought we would learn, and we still have so much more to learn. So my advice would be, try to learn from everyone. The one of the beautiful things about YouTube, but it makes it hard to give a concrete advice, is just how wide the breadth of content that exists is. And so I just say I think it's just a matter of trying to learn as much as you can and giving yourself time to explore those ideas, experiment, and just work hard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's
cliche
to say.
That's a great answer.
I want to add in though that it's very cliche to say, but also make sure that you are literally enjoying doing it, because I definitely find myself at times where I'm like, I want my content to be so good and I want it to be super successful. That's all I'm thinking about. And I'm like, it's gotta be so good. It's gotta be amazing. But I realize that I really do the best work when I actually am enjoying it and not like just stressing myself about it being super successful and being amazing. So just like, even though everyone says that you gotta love it, I do find myself realizing that I think you do have to love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that translates through too, because I can only imagine, and I've seen some other people do videos where it's like obvious, you're trying really hard, but if they're not having fun, then it's hard for the viewer to have fun and everybody engaging. Mm-hmm. Finn, I do want to ask you one thing. So one of the most recent videos I watched of yours is you trying to guess what kind of phone people have based on a series of questions, claiming that you're psychic with this. So I wanted to see if you could do this for me. Yeah. Can you guess what kind of phone I have?
Oh, absolutely. See, the thing is, over my years of using Androids and iPhones, I have developed the psychic ability to perfectly answer that question. So I could probably, it might take me a while, but I'll start out with some simple questions, and I think I'll definitely, without a doubt, absolutely get the correct answer. So luckily, there's nothing on the line here if I fail. I hope. Is there anything on the line? Is there any penalty if I get this wrong?
Nothing on the line. Nothing on the line.
So I'm gonna start out. Let's see. What will be a good starting question? What is your favorite coffee shop? Good starting question here.
Favorite coffee shop? I guess. Well, I haven't gone out to coffee in a while, but I'll say Pete's.
Pete's. I don't know what that is. Can I get a little bit of context?
It's a local coffee chain.
Dang, wish I'd been there.
In Portland.
Sounds good, but okay. Local coffee shop. But you factor that in. Okay. What kind of laptop do you have in front of you? This is gonna be my final question. I'm gonna base off this.
Right in front of me, I've got a Lenovo ThinkPad.
Yeah. Lenovo ThinkPad. Okay, so you got a Lenovo ThinkPad. Goes to a small coffee shop. All right. I'm gonna say you use Android. Final answer. Yeah. It has to be Android. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Psychic ability strikes
and
again.
actually a cheap one at that. Psychic, you were there. You were in my head. You knew it all along. Finn and David, you guys, thank you so much for joining us here on the show too. I love what you guys are doing and still able to create all this stuff too. Like you said, apart, by a long ways, thousands of miles apart, but still able to come up with this unique stuff. And then hopefully someday when this is all over, that'll change and you can actually go back out on the road again. But I want to say thank you, seriously, for being here with us today. Appreciate it a lot. Tech Kaboom. Everybody go there, subscribe, and check out all their new content. David and Finn, you guys are awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
All right, that is really cool, hearing how they did that. And yeah, he did guess it, and it is a cheap Android phone that I've got because I dropped my other one. But anyway, we are here live every single day on Digital Trends, so 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and we bring you all those interviews, those discussions, the headline news, everything here with you. Tomorrow, though, we've got some special coverage. So we're going to be starting off a little bit early, 8:40 a.m. Pacific, 11:40 Eastern. We'll have news, but then we're going to have analysis about the big tech summit that is going on in Washington. We're going to air it live on here because you're going to have the heads of Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Alphabet/Google all getting together in one place, well, virtually. It's gonna be a show, and there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's gonna be discussed too. There's important political decisions, but also it's gonna be a show. So we're gonna watch that together with you. That's tomorrow. So like I said, hit subscribe, join the show. Coming up at 2:30 p.m. Pacific today, we've got our live Roundtable Tech podcast as well. We're gonna be talking about the Mars launch and what the future of that holds for space exploration. So make sure and join us for that as well. And I'm Greg Nibbler. Craig Nibbler, that's my name. I'll be back here tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.